As I said, I'm going to be replacing my income, so I had to look at what am I making working for someone else, and what's it going to take to make that. So I'm not shy. At the station I worked at in Nebraska, I was making $50,000 a year, so I just took that and divided it by 52 weeks. Figured I'll take a couple weeks off, even though I didn't. So that's like $1,000 a week. If that's only 5 days a week, even though I work more than that, I was like, that's $200 a day. So it's $100 in the morning and $100 in the afternoon. And then I built a plan based on that. So if you build a plan based on, I need to do this, you're not going to do it. But if you can have a manager that told me eat the elephant in little bites, it's a whole lot easier. So that's what I would do, is lay out your formula, here's what I need in the end, and then drop that down into the tiniest little, what do I need to do this morning to make sure I'm on track to hit that end goal. So that's what I would do.
I think the kind of the converse of what Mark did, I just had a lot of delayed gratification. I was single at the time I started this, so I didn't have to answer to somebody else. In fact, it took me, it probably slowed me down. It took me 9 years to get married after that. Once I got on top of it, I was kind of rebirthed my college years. But you know, I think the situation is different. It's unique for everybody, and you have to go, what is my skill set? You know, what is my background, and how do I, you know, make that work in the business field? I mean, my background really was very limited. I had, hey, check out the band, was farming, grew up on a farm, and of course, my dad used to say this, my dad had an 8th grade education, but you're gonna, I'll be a little frank, you're gonna appreciate this shit someday. And it really rings true, because I was able to parlay that in the football end of it, which is a sport I still love, because football seemed easy compared to what I had to go through at home. And most of the kids I was competing against, you know, got to sleep in. I could never have a friend over when I was growing up, because they just refused to get up at 5 a.m. They just like, are you nuts? And then I go stay at their house, and I wake up at 5 a.m. You know, they'd be going, let's go do something. I'm like, 3 more hours to sleep, and going like, I honestly not slept in past 7 until after I graduated from high school. Now I never get up before 7. So that's a little different. But I parlayed that work ethic. You know, I didn't really know what I wanted to do in college. I basically, team sports was it, and the stuff that we learned there was tremendous. So if you have a background in that, obviously it felt better to me to be in something where I could have a fast-paced environment. The restaurant helped do that, because there certainly wasn't anything that could kind of compare to the sports environment in terms of the intensity, which I was just totally an adrenaline junkie on that end of it. But a good restaurant rush really helped satisfy that need. And I mean, I had gone out and tried the education thing for a couple of years, and you know, it just felt like what everybody was telling you there just was against my personal philosophy, because they kept saying it's going to get better. Really, they were saying it's going to get easier. And it's like, I didn't want easier. I wanted more, and I totally want, you know, what I don't want to earn something that I didn't get. I mean, I want to work for it, and it's just evolved into this great process. Now, if that isn't your makeup, I mean, you've got to be true to yourself and say, what is this going to work? I really like, he's in direct sales. That would not have been my deal, because early on I couldn't handle the rejection. I mean, certainly I had to deal with it at Night City a few times, but after that it was like, it was good to handle. I mean, after about the 5th one, you're like, okay, I'm going for it. But this business was good because it was more passive. I mean, people came in, and I was able to, you know, network my way in the community, and I like that. And I really appreciate what that gal said, but I never think of myself as some kind of prize to the community, because the community gave me more than I ever gave back. But it was mutual. Whatever I did, I got something back. And then the great thing about the team sports is I've hung in there long enough that now I have 4 young partners, you know, who know the drill, who know me. I know them intimately. So I didn't have to hire some people off the street to try to run my company. I knew what I was getting. And early on, if you look at my bio, I had a lot of 50-50 partners. And I think the situation is, I know that if you can have a good business marriage that way, if you really can stay out of each other's hair. But in general, it's never 50-50. Somebody's doing more, somebody's doing less, somebody has bigger dreams, somebody has smaller dreams. And so the situation is to create a process, I call it laddering, where you've got somebody that's really in charge, but you've got some people down here that want the brass ring. And so eventually I'm gonna go away here. But the most important thing is the institution which I've created will continue. And that's my goal. It's not, so it's bigger than me. It's really what I've created, and now it's ours, it's not mine. So.
Brad, before you go, Daryl just gave you a jewel, that ownership part about take the leadership. If you're gonna put in all the work, take the leadership. I don't own all of our company. 28 years ago, I sold stock. I only owned 68%, have for all those years. I got all their money back 3 times over, and their stock's worth 5 times what it was when they put it in. But that was a big deal to me, and I never have had a problem sharing. And some years ago, we were gonna buy some stock back, and the lady looked at me, she was a law librarian down at USD, and she said, "Are you kidding me? It's house money, go back to work." And because we were gonna have some hard times, we knew what was coming in 8 and 9. Those are some challenging years. We lost $500,000 in sales, but never lost money. So Daryl gave you a real tool there. Brett?
Your question was about where would you start? Is that what it was?
Yeah, what advice do you have?
Well, plan, plan, plan. You know, I'm bullish on this economy, and I feel good about it for the next 20 years. Everything they talk about in this area is gonna center around another 125,000 people being in this area over the next 2 decades. And that might even be lighter. But back when I was just like a bull in a china closet and thought I could conquer everything on my own and do everything the hard way and paid 18 and 20% interest, you know, and things like that, the mistakes don't have to be made. The incubator centers and the small business development centers that are available now, you'll start with an idea and they will open up worlds of opportunity for you to think about, and programs that are in place to help you get started out on the right foot. And then you can gradually assimilate yourself into the business world. You don't have to jump in like I was just bound and determined. There was no such thing as sticking a toe in the water, you know. I was more like maybe I'd have a toe out of the water, you know, it'd be more like how it was, you know, for me most of the time. But I just, you know, people talk about when the economy took the downturn in 07 and 08, and again, I always ask people, what do you mean by the economy? Because I don't know if a lot of what people talk about the economy has that much to do with us here. But supposedly things are so much better in 07. Well, land prices are more realistic except for farmland, but commercial prices are down. You could make a better deal today as a tenant than you could have then. You know, there's a good example. And if you can figure out a way to tap into the workforce here, we have some of the most dedicated, hardworking people in our workforce. People that come here from out of town, and I tour them around all the time, business people. They just are astounded at what we have going in this area. And I just want people to wake up and see the reality that the opportunities exist, they're going to continue to exist, and in many ways we're better off today than we were 4 years ago in the business environment. There are things that are better off. If you had a lease in 07 or 08 or 09 and are redoing it today, you're encountering lower operating costs and more cooperative landlords than you ever did before, just as an example. And then the interest rates are lower. So the combination, it just don't listen to the news. It doesn't have much to do with us here.
Thank you, Brad. Now, to draw your attention,